The American Revolution. The American Revolution started as a civil war between the 13 American colonies and the rest of the British Empire. Tensions over taxation and British control over the colonies had been boiling for several decades, but it finally spilt over at Lexington and Concord. The Declaration of Independence declared the 13 colonies' quest for freedom. After American success in the Battle of Saratoga, France officially recognized the United States and joined the war, followed soon by Spain and the Netherlands. The war ended with the Treaty of Paris in 1783, where the United States was recognized by the United Kingdom, creating the first modern democratic republic. The War of 1812. The War of 1812 was another war between the United States and Great Britain. It started due to the British practice of impressing American soldiers into their navy and limiting American trade with France. The British Army was able to occupy Washington, D.C. and set fire to the Capitol and White House. However, other American victories turned the war into a tie. The Treaty of Ghent officially ended the war to status quo ante bellum. 15 days after it was signed, American forces had their greatest victory at the Battle of New Orleans, strengthening American morale and nationalism. The Mexican-American War. The Mexican-American War was started in 1846 by the annexation of Texas and territorial disputes about the border of Texas and Mexico. The Mexican-American War witnessed significant military campaigns, including the U.S. invasion of Mexico and naval blockade. General Winfield Scott even occupied Mexico City. The war concluded with the signing of the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo in 1848. Mexico ceded vast territories to the United States, including present-day California, Texas, Arizona, and New Mexico. The Civil War. The Civil War in the United States was a conflict between the northern and southern states, primarily over the issue of slavery. The conflict reached its breaking point when Abraham Lincoln was elected as president, leading several southern states to secede. The war witnessed significant battles, such as the First Battle of Bull Run, Antietam, Gettysburg, and the Siege of Vicksburg. The conflict was characterized by large-scale military engagements, with technological advancements in weaponry and tactics. The Emancipation Proclamation declared the abolition of slavery in Confederate-held territories, shifting the war's focus to the broader goal of ending slavery. The war concluded with the surrender of Confederate General Robert E. Lee. The 13th Amendment to the United States Constitution was ratified later that year, formally abolishing slavery. The Spanish-American War. The Spanish-American War was a conflict between the United States and Spain, primarily driven by issues related to Cuba's struggle for independence. The war started with the explosion of the USS Maine in Havana Harbor. While the cause of the explosion was unclear, the incident served as a catalyst for the United States to declare war on Spain. The war saw significant naval engagements, including the Battle of Molina Bay in the Philippines, and the Battle of Santiago de Cuba. On land, a decisive battle was the capture of San Juan Hill, where future President Theodore Roosevelt and his Rough Riders played a prominent role. The war concluded with the signing of the Treaty of Paris in 1898. Spain ceded control of its colonies, including Cuba, Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Philippines, to the United States. World War I. World War I, also known as the Great War, was a global conflict. The war had its roots in a complex web of issues, with the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary serving as the immediate catalyst. The assassination saw a chain reaction of declarations of war, with the Central Powers, led by Germany, Austria-Hungary, and the Ottoman Empire, facing off against the Allies, led by France and Russia. The United States joined the war due to Germany sinking the British ocean liner RMS Lusitania, which had 128 American casualties, and the Zimmerman telegram, which asked Mexico to invade America. The war concluded with the signing of the Treaty of Versailles. The treaty imposed heavy penalties on Germany, leading to economic hardships and contributing to the conditions that would eventually lead to World War II. World War II. World War II, one of the most devastating conflicts in human history, unfolded as a result of complex interplay of political, economic, and territorial factors. The war had its roots in the aftermath of World War I and the unresolved issues left by the Treaty of Versailles. In 1939, Germany, led by Hitler, invaded Poland. This aggressive act prompted Britain and France to declare war on Germany, marking the official beginning of World War II. The early years of the conflict saw Germany's rapid military advances in Europe. The United States initially pursued a policy of neutrality. However, the surprise attack on Pearl Harbor by Japan brought the U.S. into the war. The attack united the American public and galvanized support for a full-scale commitment to defeating the Axis powers. One of the defining and horrifying aspects of World War II was the Holocaust, the systematic genocide perpetrated by Nazi Germany against 6 million Jews and millions of others. The Allied forces, with significant contributions from the United States, achieved critical victories, including the D-Day landings in Normandy and the liberation of France. In the Pacific, the United States engaged in a series of island-hopping campaigns, gradually moving closer to Japan. The battles of Midway, Guadalcanal, and Iwo Jima were pivotal in weakening Japan's military capabilities. The war reached a devastating climax with the dropping of the atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki by the United States in August 1945. The immense destruction and the realization of destructive power of nuclear weapons prompted Japan's surrender. World War II resulted in significant geopolitical changes, the establishment of the United Nations, and the beginning of the Cold War. The war's aftermath also led to the recognition of human rights and the pursuit of international cooperation. The Korean War. The Korean War emerged from the complex geopolitical landscape of post-World War II Asia, marked by the division of Korea along the 38th parallel and the ideological struggle between communist and non-communist blocs. In 1950, North Korean forces under the leadership of Kim Il-sung and with the support from the Soviet Union and China invaded South Korea. The goal was to reunify the Korean peninsula under a communist government. The United States and its allies saw the invasion as a threat to the containment policy against communism. A UN coalition comprising troops from various nations, including the United States and other Western countries, was assembled to repel the North Korean invasion. The war reached a stalemate along the 38th parallel. After years of negotiations, an armistice agreement was signed on July 27, 1953, effectively ending the active combat. The Korean peninsula remained divided along the 38th parallel. A formal peace treaty was never signed. The Vietnam War. The Vietnam War was a conflict over the control of Vietnam between communist forces from the north, supported by China and the Soviet Union, and anti-communist forces in the south, supported by the United States. The United States became increasingly involved in Vietnam to counter the spread of communism. The Gulf of Tonkin incident in 1964, where U.S. naval vessels reported being attacked by North Vietnamese forces, provided the pretext for increased American military intervention. The U.S. Congress subsequently passed the Gulf of Tonkin Resolution, granting President Lyndon B. Johnson broad powers to use military force in Vietnam. President Richard Nixon implemented a policy of Vietnamization, which involved gradually withdrawing U.S. troops while building up the South Vietnamese military's capabilities to defend itself. The Vietnam War left a legacy of deep divisions within U.S. society, marked by protests and debates over U.S. foreign policy. I'll be making more such videos. Subscribe to see them.